Hello guys, and Aquaba to a new episode. So today I'm going to talk about this particular monitor. This is the Pyro 7 from Hollyland, and this is a monitor, but it's not just a monitor. It's packed with so much features, and we're going to break it down in this video. So without wasting much time, let's get into today's video. So guys, just as I said earlier on, this is the Pyro 7. This is a field monitor, director's monitor, on camera monitor, from the brand Hollyland, and this is the Pyro 7. This is the 7-inch version of this monitor. Now, in some few weeks from now, I'm going to be on set with a production, and we are obviously going to use this monitor in conjunction with another one, which is a similar version of this, but it's the smaller version of this. And I just thought of it and I was like, no, let me just talk about this particular monitor and break it down on my channel before we go down to that production set. Also, I'm just going to give you an overview of this particular monitor. We'll go over the features and some of the things I like about it and why I'm going to use it on my set. But afterwards, I'm trying so hard, to make a video on set. Whilst I'm on set, I'll try as much as possible to make a video and showcase how I'm going to set it all up and the other peripherals that I'm going to add up to it to make our shoot on set a very pleasant one and everybody can be happy at the end of the day. So let's break this down. So this is, as I said earlier on, a 7-inch monitor from Hollyland. Now, this is not just a monitor. This, as I said in the beginning, but one cool feature or one of the nicest thing about this particular monitor, aside all the beautiful things that it has, the zebras, the peaking, focus peaking, force colors and all that, which we are going to break down in a bit. But also, this is a transmitter and a receiver. Now, how does it work? So with the normal video transmitters that we use for live streaming, sometimes we use it on film set and all that. Now, Hollyland has made something like that with a screen. Awesome. And that's what makes this particular monitor a very awesome one. Also, it has a very bright screen. This monitor has a very bright screen, so you can be in broad daylight and you can see everything that you want to see on this monitor. Now, how am I going to use this monitor? Why am I setting this monitor on the set that I have? Now, the director specifically wants to have a director's monitor, and I think in every production there is supposed to be some sort of reference video for the director, so the director can actually see clearly outside the camera whatever is going on set and whatever the camera is capturing, which is very, very essential. So this 7-inch monitor is what the director is going to use, and also I'm going to also have the 5-inch version on top of my camera, and when I get on set I'm going to explain why I have that. Now let's go over the features of this particular monitor. Now, just as I said, this particular monitor has the peak brightness of 1200 nits, which is very, very good for a monitor and can be used outdoor with no problem. Now, also, it has an HDMI port. It also has an SDI port. Now, the good thing about this particular one is that it has an SDI in and also an SDI out. And it also has an HDMI in and an HDMI out, which is very, very nice to see on this monitor. Now, one beautiful thing this monitor has that other monitors don't have is that also, aside being able to transmit footage to a film village or something like that, or to transmit footage to a different device, also it can receive also, aside those two beautiful features that this monitor has. And the good thing is that it does it internally, that you don't need any other peripherals. It does it internally, and that's why you kind of see all these antennas on top here. Now, another cool feature this particular monitor has is that it can record also on the monitor. So if you look right here, you can see that there is an SD card slot right here. So you can put in an SD card and record onto the SD card. Now, the beautiful thing about having this feature is that you can easily record proxies on set, and that is beautiful. It's beautiful to have that. Now, on the set I'm going to be on, we're going to use the Canon R50V, and with the Canon R50V, it doesn't have any feature of recording proxies because it takes one SD card. So you can't record proxies onto another SD cards, just like we can do on the other modern cameras like the R6 Mark IIs and the Mark IIIs and the R5Cs and all like C70s, you know, all those top cameras, which you can actually record onto one SD card and record proxies as well onto the other SD card. Now with this, you could easily record proxies onto an SD card right here on this monitor, and the moment you're done, you could easily pass that proxy footage to your editor, and your editor can directly start editing before he receives the main footage, which is nice. And also the SD card also allows you to upload LUT onto this particular monitor, and that's one of the reasons why I'm getting this monitor, because as you know, working with LUTs, you know, and false colors and all that on the Canon R50V is a headache. You know, when you're recording, you can't really go back to see your false colors and all that on the Canon R50V. You can't also see your LUT that has been applied. But the moment you start recording, all those things go off, you know, and you can't, the switch between the two is very difficult. But when you have a monitor like this, you can easily do that. Also, it has anamorphic disc-squeeze in it, so with cameras like the Canon R50V, and also with a very popular camera like the Nikon ZR, which can do anamorphic disc-squeeze internally, having something like this on set would be very key for you, so that you can actually squeeze, you know, on the monitor and see how the footage is going to look. Also, I'm going to run through some of the features that it has, you know, when it comes to the monitor itself. It has waveform, it has vector scopes, it has histogram, it has focus assist, zebras, false colors. You can apply your custom LUT. You can have different aspect ratio markers on the monitor, anamorphic disc-squeeze here, and also you can record proxies on here. Now let's go over some of the scenarios that you can actually use something like this. First of all, as I mentioned earlier on a film set, this can be very key on a film set, because you can have a Pyro H or a Pyro S, you know, connected to your camera. If you're not going to use it on top of your camera, you can have a Pyro H or a Pyro S on top of your camera, and you can give this to your director and transmit whatever is coming from your camera onto this for the director. It's big enough, and you can actually see, your director can actually see everything that is going on. Another case that you could use is, you could use this in a live streaming situation. You know, I did a video which you can check back on the Blackmagic live streaming setup, and if you realize, I placed the Hollyland Pyro S on top of the Blackmagic camera. And one key problem that we had with the Blackmagic camera was that the V-mount was kind of covering the screen. Now, when you have something like this, you could easily plug that in, and you don't need a transmitter. This can be your transmitter and your monitor at the same time. So when your V-mount battery is covering the screen, you could use this as your on-board or on top screen that can live right on top of your camera, and you can view whatever you're shooting with that. And also, it can simultaneously transmit the video to the switcher board as well. So that's another case scenario that you could use this particular monitor. Another case scenario that you can use is also maybe like a commercial set, where you can have this, or you can have multiple of this, and everybody on set can be using it. One other area that you can actually use this particular monitor is when you have a car rig. So when you kind of mount your camera on a car somewhere, anywhere on the car, and you actually want to see what the camera is capturing, especially when you have maybe like a DJI running, you know, connected to the, or connected somewhere, and you actually need to be moving it or controlling the axis, whilst the car is moving, you can actually use this to view whatever the camera is seeing, and you can actually see all your angles and all your aspect ratio and all that beautiful thing right here inside the camera, or outside the camera. You could use this as a monitor to see whatever is going on. And one beautiful thing is that the range on this monitor can be on one side of a football field and I can be on the other side, and there's not going to be any drop in frames or any drop in the signal. And also focus pullers can also use this. The only time I would recommend something like this for focus pullers is when you are doing very, very fast pace things, because the latency is more like 1.5 2 frames drop. So if you are doing something fast and you need precise focusing, this would be a very, very bad choice for you. But if it's just like a normal day kind of film with no intense movement or quick movement, you can actually pull focus from a monitor like this. One last thing I didn't mention, it has 2 function batteries, so you can map this to anything on the monitor, and you can use this to control. So you can even use this to switch between 2 different angles. Let's say for instance you have 2 cameras on set, you can have the transmitter from both cameras coming directly to this particular monitor, and you can use any of this function battery to kind of switch between both cameras. So that's another feature that you could actually use. So I don't want to talk too much. I'm going to be using this on set, and I'm going to dive deep into it and show you all the show you real life scenarios of how I'll be using this and how you could use this particular monitor. That would be my take on the Hollyland Pyro 7. I think this is a very beautiful device to have as a filmmaker in this day and age. Having tools like this is very, very key to make the experience smoother, to make the experience better, for everyone on set, and to help you produce good stuff. So that will be all for today, guys. Without wasting much time, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Let's go.